Welcome. Thank you for coming out. The video of this meeting is streamed live on YouTube and will also be available on Facebook and the Village website. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Clerk Saladino to call the roll.
Trustee Augustine.
Here.
Trustee Gale.
Here.
Trustee McGee. Trustee Peterson.
Here.
Trustee Thompson.
Here.
Trustee O'Brien. President Kukler.
Here. And Trustee McGee and Trustee O'Brien informed me that they were unable to make tonight's meeting and will be joining us at our next regularly scheduled meeting. At this time, one of the things that we have on our agenda is for a proclamation designating September as Library Card Sign-Up Month. And we have a lot of people, including the library director, Jennifer Havanek, and her family here today. So I know her family and maybe everybody will come up to the microphone and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to start out our meeting. Jennifer, make sure your husband stands up. We get mom, dad, brothers.
I missed the whole baseball.
I pressed the button and it's green, is that right? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thank you for that. As I was saying, first item up is the proclamation. I'd like to recognize Jennifer Havanek, the Executive Director of the Grange Public Library, and a lot of the other directors and staff members of the library and library board for coming out tonight. The proclamation is because September is Library Card Sign-Up Month in the village of LaGrange. So I'd like to read the proclamation, then invite Jennifer to come and tell us all the great things that the library is doing. Whereas the LaGrange Lending Library first shared books via the LaGrange Women's Club in 1896. And whereas in 1903, the LaGrange Public Library was constructed with grant funds from Andrew Carnegie, establishing its physical presence that it has persisted for 128 years. And whereas National Library Card Sign-Up Month originated in 1987 as an initiative via then United States Treasury Secretary of Education, William Bennett, and the American Library Association, and has been celebrated annually since. And whereas the American Library Association and libraries nationwide remind people of all ages that signing up and actively using the library card is a first step to academic success and lifelong learning. And whereas a library card provides critical access to tools that encourage free thought, exploration, and the pursuit of personal excellence. And whereas it's the mission of the LaGrange Public Library to enrich our community by inspiring connections, providing access to meaningful resources, and encouraging curiosity and an inclusive and welcoming atmosphere. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of LaGrange will designate September as Library Card Sign-Up Month and publicly recognizes the service of library workers in our community and across the nation. This September 9th, 2024. Again, the critical role that libraries play in supporting and nurturing minds cannot be overstated. Thank you, Director Havanek, and your staff for providing this valuable service to the LaGrange community, and please accept our proclamation. But first, give us some great insights on all the things that the library does.
Thank you, President Kukler, and each trustee for your support today. The LaGrange Public Library stands shoulder to shoulder with our fellow civic organizations to serve and celebrate library work and the rich history of our community. We've been woven into the fabric of LaGrange for 123 years, and dare I say that we are looking to the next 123. I'd like to take a moment to share a few important pieces of information from our 2023-2024 fiscal year. First, our library mission statement was reaffirmed with our 2023 strategic plan. President Cookler just read it, but I'll give it a quick read again. We strive to enrich our community by inspiring connections, providing access to meaningful resources, and encouraging curiosity in an inclusive and welcoming atmosphere. Our vision says that we will engage, connect, explore, and grow. We are a vibrant and valuable community resource. Our 618 programs in fiscal year 23-24 invited 15,571 attendees of all ages to discover new ideas, learn a new skill, or practice early literacy in an open, safe environment. The library also acts as a third place for our community to gather after home, work, or school. Our Dirks program room was reserved 846 times for patrons to cultivate their sense of community, and our study rooms and flex spaces were reserved 2,914 times by individuals for activities like cramming for exams, tutoring, or working away from their office. We proudly welcomed 165,559 unique visitors through our doors and answered more than 23,000 reference questions that met the informational and entertainment needs of our patrons. The library helps community members expand their worldview through access to collections. Last year alone, we circulated 336,843 items spanning from board books to vlogging cameras, digital books, e-magazines, and e-audiobooks. Our collection management plan is celebrated in the library science profession, appearing in texts and acting as an oft-referenced model for our fellow public libraries. We prioritize the opportunity for everyone to see themselves in our collections and programs. 1 in 3 people in the state of Illinois have an active public library card. In our LaGrange community, 60% of residents hold an active public library card. I won't ask any of you to show your library card, but we know. The average number for libraries of our size in Cook County is only 33%. This number alone tells us that the LaGrange Public Library is successfully providing our citizens with the services, collections, and programs they need. However, we know our community wants and deserves more as it continues to grow and change. We are ready and are currently working on a 10-year master plan to make those desires into reality. We are thriving, and when people use their public library, they will thrive too. On behalf of my talented staff, we are proud of our community, and we look forward to continuing to do this work for all of you. Thank you, and happy Library Card Sign-Up Month.
Thank you, Jim. Hi.
Hello, my name is Megan Griffin, and I am the president of the Friends of the Library. I have lived in the LaGrange area for about 45 years, and I have been working with the Friends of the Library for about 8 years now. The Friends of the Library is important to me because it gives back to the library in a multitude of ways. We raise money through donations, membership dues, and fundraisers, such as the ongoing used book sale that is in the front lobby. Our book sale books are all donated, and we sell them for very generous prices, as we want all people who come to the library to have access to them. All the money raised goes back to assist in purchasing library materials, equipment, and programs. Right now, the Friends of the Library is sponsoring the iPad that will be raffled off for anyone who comes into the library during the month of September and signs up for a new library card. We have also funded the circulating vlogging camera kit, themed book bundles for kids, other iPads available for checkout, and the Tony Box's story sets for little children. We will also be funding the Holiday Walk performer in December. The Friends thank you for all the help the library, for all that the help you do for the library, and we are always looking for people to be on our board and to become friends of the library.
Thank you.
I'm Katie Gardner-Allen. I'm the president of the LaGrange Public Library Board of Trustees. First of all, I want to thank Trustee Augustine, Becky Spratford, our treasurer, and then Jen Havanek, of course, for bringing this proclamation into being, and the entire village board for making this possible. What a delight to be here to celebrate the library. So, story time. Once upon a time, as a fairly nerdy tween, I decided it would be really cool to make my own home library. I scotch-taped little pieces of paper with handwritten numbers to the spines of my all-of-a-kind family books and invited my one patron, my sister, to come borrow my books. She was less than enthusiastic, and I discovered pretty quickly that it's not really that fun to have a library of 2 people. It takes more people and different kinds of people and different kinds of books to make a library. And actually, you need more than people and books. You need other cool stuff to borrow and fun programs to go to, and a fabulous building doesn't hurt, and adequate funding is really nice. But most of all, you need a community, because a library is nothing without a community using it and supporting it. And I'm so proud to be a part of a community like LaGrange, whose love and support for the library is evident every day. When the local brewery offers to make you a custom-crafted IPA to celebrate National Library Card Sign-Up Month, you know you're doing something right. But seriously, you can see it in the building, in the bustling activity. You can watch through the windows and the shelves full of books waiting to be picked up, in the bikes locked up outside, in the parking lot that's packed. We see it in all of you gathered here tonight. I'm sure it won't surprise you to learn that that fairly nerdy tween grew up to be a fairly nerdy librarian. In 2018, I decided to take that to the next level by running for the library board, and I was elected in 2019. It was an honor to be reelected last year. I ran for the board because at some point in my life, I looked around and I realized how much work, impactful, meaningful work, was done by volunteers working tirelessly and quietly all around us. Whether it's soccer or scout parents or food pantry helpers or school board members or village trustees, every day there are so many people giving their time and talents simply for the sheer love of their community. And it's my privilege to return some of this love I've been given by others in the form of service. I suspect my brilliant fellow trustees would say the same. No one runs for the library board for fame or fortune. They do it because they deeply care about the library and the people who use it. We're so fortunate to have a dedicated library board and staff at LaGrange who work together to make an already wonderful library even better and easier to use. Since 2019, when I was elected, we've eliminated overdue fines and library card expiration dates, so as long as you still live in LaGrange, your library card doesn't expire. We've added a pickup window to make the library more accessible to caregivers and busy people and really everyone. Right now, we're in the process of installing hearing loop technology in our large meeting room to provide a more inclusive and accessible experience for those who use hearing devices. We're making more connections in the community, strengthening our partnerships with other organizations who make a difference. So every day, we're working to ensure that the library is a welcoming place for everyone, and everyone who enters who can find something that encourages them to engage, connect, explore, and grow. So if you haven't stopped at the library lately, come visit. You're always welcome. And afterward, stop by Milk Money and sample our beer. A novel idea. It's delicious. And whether your library card lives in your wallet or in the app on your phone, I hope you'll find it's the most valuable card you have.
Thank you to everyone for all their hard work in making our library so great. I do want to emphasize 2 things. One, the library on September 12th, Thursday, is having a volunteer fair where the public is invited to give back, get involved, and volunteer. So from the 5 to 7, Different organizations will be there with tables and information, and you can learn about ways to volunteer in the area. And it's a great idea. We do get asked often by people that want to get involved and want to volunteer what organizations are available. And so this will be a one-shop place to really look at it. So I think that's great. So please come out Thursday from 5 to 7. Also, the Milk Money Brewery, our local brewery, is donating $1 of each pint sold in the month of September for the library to make some great purchase for even more things for our residents. And I think it may be, well, I'll just leave it that it's for our residents since it's beer. we'll keep it residents. But I think it's a great idea, and I appreciate their efforts. So thank you. Other things that make our community so great is what we celebrated yesterday, and that was Race Unity Rally. We had record crowds yesterday afternoon. I want to thank the members of the Community Diversity Group for hosting the annual Race Unity Rally. I want to thank Trustee Reverend Shawana McGee and her kids' choir, the God Squad, fantastic name, for performing. They did a fine job. We had high school students that read essays of what diversity means to them. We had the leaders from our schools coming out and really saying all that they do with the goal to make sure that everybody feels included. And then we had Jennifer come out and tell us all the things that the library strives to do and does to make sure that everybody can find materials where they see themselves. So it was a great event. This year's ceremony marked the 33rd annual hosting of the ceremony. The village is especially proud of Assistant Public Works Director Russell Davenport, who is honored with the Mini Car Service Award this year. Russell came out with his wife, most of his children. It was fantastic. His brother came out, I think his father, the whole family. It was great to see Russell get the recognition he deserves. He does such a great job for us in our community. Again, congratulations to Russell, and thank you for the Community Diversity Group for hosting this wonderful event. As summer begins to wind down, we have the annual West End Arts Festival to look forward to. It's going to be Saturday, September 21st, and Sunday, September 22nd. This annual arts festival always attracts artists from around the country to the West End near the Stone Avenue Metro Station. Everyone's encouraged to come by and enjoy time visiting with the artists, listening to live jazz, experiencing demonstrations, and there'll be interactive fun for kids, in our beautiful West End. I want to thank the LGBA, the village staff, and the many others that helped make this event possible, and the coordinators of another successful West End. I see Kathy DeMonico here. Kathy, do you want to give us a few words on the West End Art Fair, other than it's the best in town? But
we are celebrating 28 years for the West End Art Fair. It's going to be spectacular. We have over 60 artists this year, and we have great jazz, as you mentioned, and a lot of new food vendors. So I encourage everyone to come out. It's certainly a festival for people of every age, kids to adults. Again, great food, great entertainment, kids' activities, and terrific art this year. Thank you.
And thank you, Kathy, and thanks for all you do with the LGBA and all that the LGBA does for our village. It is back to school. That's probably why we don't have so many students in our audience. I'm sure some of the kids are excited to be back, and others are probably a little dismayed. But all good things have to come to an end. As in years past, the village has undertaken several efforts to promote back-to-school safety. This year, efforts included members of the police department engaging with students and being present at schools and nearby intersections. Traffic signs with reminders on school zones and driving safely were put into place. Efforts continued throughout the first week of school with 36 back-to-school patrol details that resulted in 49 traffic stops and 8 citations. The fire department also attended back-to-school events emphasizing a safe school year. So I want to thank our emergency first responders for undertaking such an important effort, really showing our residents how school safety is really a top priority to the village. We appreciate your efforts. We do appreciate the residents' efforts. We know as the adults, we need to be careful for kids running or riding their bicycle, not always making the best choices. So please be safe. Last week, I and Trustee Thompson had the pleasure of joining the police and fire departments in a community engagement event held in Gordon Park. Games of bags and conversations were held, and we enjoyed a great late summer weather. Thank you for Sergeant Coleman and others for organizing the great event. Celtic soccer was out there playing, so those kids got to join and meet our first responders. I think we got a few leads on some candidates in about 20 years or maybe 15 years or so. So it was a lot of fun. I'm not going to go into if the fire beat the police or the police beat the fire, but I think everybody had a good time. Comprehensive plan, there's been a lot of activity for the last year, and the village staff and the community have come together for engagement, planning, analysis, and refining ideas and recommendations for the comprehensive planning process. It's entering its final phases. I know there's been some stuff on social media. Tomorrow, Tuesday, September 10th at 7 p.m. here, the Plan Commission will hold a public hearing on the plan, and everybody is welcome to come. Feel free to share your thoughts, concerns with the Plan Commission. Once the Plan Commission has finalized their activities, they will move to the village board. So after public hearing process, the additional input from the Plan Commission, the plan's next to be considered by the village board prior to final adoption. We're going to have the village board meeting on September 23rd. We do not have to adopt it at that time. There's not necessarily a rush to adopt it. So I know that the trustees are anxious to see what the project is when it gets to our diocese or our desk. And at that time, we can ask some questions and get our thoughts known, and maybe have one or two meetings where we talk about it, really as many meetings as the board feels necessary. So it will be up at least the first time on September 23rd. And lastly, we have little pads, I guess, iPads, they're not iPads, tablets that we're using as a village board. And the idea with the tablet is that staff will be able to get us the information in a digital format. We will no longer need the paper. It will be better for the environment. It will be much more efficient for staff. So we're very excited about this. We expect there'll be a few hiccups along the way, but that does not diminish our excitement. So with that, I would ask if there's one last thing, and that is the village, again, for the 38th, I believe, year, received the Village Distinguished Budget Award. So I want to congratulate Director Micah for that. It's fantastic. I know your staff had a lot to do with it. We appreciate the hard work. We appreciate being recognized for that. So thank you very much. And with that, I'd ask if there's a manager's report.
There is. Thank you, President Kugler, and good evening, everyone. Recently, the first edition of the Open for Business e-newsletter was sent to owners and managers of licensed or registered businesses in LaGrange. The newsletter will be sent out twice a month and will provide resources, reminders, and news from the village for the benefit of local businesses. The newsletter is intended to support direct lines of communication between the village and businesses, and staff and its consultant worked very hard in producing the newsletter, and we thank them for their efforts. Just a quick human resources update. The village continues to hire for its world-class team. We have a couple of job openings. This includes the building and inspectional services manager and accounting manager, as well as we just recently tested for firefighter positions. As always, we encourage qualified individuals to apply to be part of the excellent team we have here at the Village of LaGrange. Item A, and lastly on my report, item A is the comprehensive update of the village's code. This is part of an ongoing effort where we are looking at the village's code and comprehensively updating it with best practices and other new features. Tonight, updates to Title IV have been prepared for the village's board's consideration. As been the case throughout, the updates have been reviewed by the village's consultants, staff, and village attorneys, and are now presented for the board's consideration. As has been the practice, attachments have been included in the materials. The first is a table that has more substantive changes and an accompanying explanation. Overall, the proposed changes to Title IV include improvements to provisions relating to business licensing, adding more modern provisions and language to provide clarity. As the code has been updated, it hasn't been updated in some time. It is also meant to get rid of a few antiquated provisions, so to reflect best practices in modern language. This is also, the materials are also presented as attachments 2 and 3, include a clean copy of the code as well as a strike-through version so that the changes can be tracked. Staff is prepared to capture the thoughts and input of the village board regarding those changes, and we're happy to take those notes as you have your discussion, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Manager Knight. At this time, I would ask if any members of the village board have input regarding the proposed update to Title IV. Yes, Trustee Odyssey.
Thank you, President Kugler. I have a few. The first one is related to a question I raised a few meetings ago when we first started going through these. So page 67, we have, and we had one in the last meeting that we discussed. So when we are updating code to remove the board approval for something and bestow that duty to the village manager, I think generally what I've seen is those are good suggestions, but not in all cases. So, because a lot of these things, they're old, that's why we're updating them. It makes sense for the village manager to be the person doing these things. But a lot of times I'm going through these packets looking for those just to make sure. And I think a lot of us on the board are aware of that. President Kugler noted one last meeting. So for the page 67 one under suspension or revocation of license, it had said revocation, it had said the village may revoke any license for cause, and now it says the village manager. And so I wanted just to discuss that and also to suggest that in future reviews of code, could it be pointed out anytime we are giving up possibly power from the board to the village manager? Just kind of highlight those so maybe we could preview them before a meeting just to make sure nothing jumps out, because there was one that we all felt shouldn't be changed and the power should remain on the board, and most of the others are fine. For example, on page 67, you do the reverse where you take responsibility from a village manager and bestow it on to the board, and that's section B in the middle of page 69. So, but where it does remove the power for the village board to oversee or to have say in something, small or major, I would love it if that could just be pointed out so we have a little time to review those versus hunting for all of those through these rather detailed notes. So that was my first question. My second question has also come up in previous meetings, and it's on page 77, and it's letter I. A brew pub holding a Class A restaurant license may sell beer brewed on premise for consumption off premise only in packages of not more than 6 cans of 12 or 16 ounces each, or in crawlers no larger than 32 ounces, or in bombers not larger than 750 milliliter glasses. And again, I just ask, why are we limiting how they sell off premise? Is that not limiting potentially business revenue for them? Is this a state law or something we just want to do to make it harder to sell too much? Just kind of want to understand the reasons for that.
I think the reason came up is this was what they asked for.
This is for sure what they asked for?
So let's go with the one about the liquor first. Yep, sorry, let's go talk about the one about the liquor first. It looks like it's an addition because it's put in here as underlined because our current code that's codified doesn't have this language. However, our most recent ordinances have this language. So it was not meant as a policy change. It's just updating our code because the current codified code does not include the most recently adopted ordinances. So we're not trying to change any, make policy changes with this change.
But why are we attributing limits on size of can or amounts of volume? I can't imagine they would come to us and say, could you make sure you put some rules in place that limits what we can sell
so
and what size?
So I think that is the rule now, but if you'd want to make changes to it, we can. That was not, again, we weren't going through the code to try to re-envision how we want to have the liquor regulations. If that is something that the board would want to entertain, we can change things in the code, certainly, but that would be up to this board.
No, but I think it's important. It is my understanding that when it was when they originally came, you sell cans, either generally 12 or 16 ounce cans. So that kind of took care of the cans idea. Then they wanted to be able to sell, and we didn't have in our code crawlers. And previously places had said, hey, I want to get in the crawler business. And we had said no to that, but we wanted them again to have crawlers. And so we were told that crawlers are those 32 ounce cans that they make themselves. Those are the sizes. So that's why it says 32 ounces, because the machines are made for 32 ounces. The bigger ones are the bombers, which were the glass. And again, it was that was the size of them. So if for some reason there's a different size, I mean, I think this pretty much allows every size that is, commercially viable to be sold.
Okay. Is that kind of standard, Charity? Do you know if that's standard? Mark, possibly you would know, President Kukler, if that's the kind of thing that is also in state liquor law code? Do they limit size of cans? And also the sentence that follows what I've read is the production and sale of bombers may occur only 4 times in any 12-month period. So I'm just looking at the restrictions. I'm just wondering why they're there. That's all. I just want to know why we're doing that.
I would have to do some research on what the state laws say. The sizes being the 12, 16 ounce, 32 ounce, and 750 milliliters are fairly standard sizes. But as far as the limitation on the number of times per year that the 750 milliliter glass bottles can be sold, I would imagine it had as much to do with distribution within the downtown district versus in an industrial district, where you might have more heavy distribution of larger size materials, but I would have to do some research into that.
I think those are also, it had to do with some breweries, and I'm thinking of Three Floyds, has these big events where they come out with these special beers and things, and collector beers and things, and Milk Money was thinking that they were going to have those events, and they would be 4 times a year as opposed to just what they regularly did.
Yeah, I guess the language there doesn't talk about the events so much as it talks about the amount of times they can produce those sizes of alcohol. So that was my
right. Again, if they have some reason for want more, they more than free to come talk to us. But it was my understanding that when they first came, they talked about trying to do events that other breweries have had, and the Three Floyds one is gigantic.
It's huge.
And it's once a year. And this said 4, it's going to be seasonal.
Okay. Page 97.
Augustine, can I just ask one thing? When it says only in packages of not, more than 6, can I only buy a 6-pack at a time? Or like if we want to have a library party this weekend, we want to have a lot of cases of beer to have at our home to have a library party, can I go in and buy multiple 6-packs, or am I limited to 6 cans only? Because that's not very clear by this wording.
No, it's you can have as many 6-packs. I think the idea was that they were trying to get away from mass-produced alcohol that comes in cases, and most now I know it's moving. That it's a transitioning market, and you can now get a lot of microbrews and different things in 12-packs and bigger cases. But at the time, it was 4-packs and 6-packs that they were sold in, and that's what we were just trying to have it be their beer that they're brewing that they were going to sell.
Okay, but not limited, okay.
But not limited to just 6.
It does look like that, though.
But it
Great.
does look like that, so we could fix that wording so it makes it a little bit clearer. So
Okay.
I want to have my library party this weekend.
I like it. I like it.
And I just had one more.
You don't get $1
ahead.
for each can. It has to be a tap beer. So,
Darn.
yes.
And if I can address the first
Yep.
section that you mentioned, so I believe that was
67.
page 67 at the bottom, and the idea of suspension, and the idea was not to add power to the manager or take away power, it was just cleaning up the various sections. So there was other sections in here on appeal of suspensions and revocations and powers of the manager to suspend, and then it goes through a process. And this was just cleaning up the sections so that way the suspension or revocation of the license language was combined more clearly just to make it more clear. But I don't think we're changing the authority.
Well, it's now saying the village manager may suspend
Right.
versus the village.
Right, but in another section, it talked about the village manager suspending. So if you look at, give me one second. So for example, what's crossed out on the next page, 2-6-13, we're doing appeal, any person aggrieved by any action of the village manager in suspending or revoking any license. And so the idea was the manager had power to suspend or revoke. We're just cleaning up the language so it reads easier and you don't have to go fishing for various sections on and separating the suspension power versus the revocation. So the manager always had that authority, and then it goes through a process if it is appealed and so forth. So we're trying to be sensitive here, not to alter the powers, just to make it to read better.
Okay. And I appreciate that, and I don't have a problem with this particular one, but since we have been through it and we are going through extensive amounts of code and lines, and these are hundreds of pages here, I would just ask if it could be brought forward to us, highlighted somehow anywhere where that happens, so we can jump to it. That would save us some time, I think, in reviewing these. And if not, that's fine too. I'll just keep reading them and asking questions. And then the last one is on page 97, in the middle of the page, under this section regarding administration enforcement, liquor control commissioner, liquor control commission, a commission which I serve on point 1 says to receive, so the Liquor Control Commission, one of the things we do is to receive complaints. Struck through is from any resident of the village liquor law violations. So now it would read to receive complaints of liquor law violations. So I just wondered why the from any resident would be struck through, and does that, because we hear things from residents all the time that we bring to these commission meetings.
Right. So it's meant to be more consistent with current practice, which is if there's a complaint, whether it's a resident or from a business or from anybody, and you would be addressing it. But we thought that the language about limiting it, any resident makes it appear to be that the complaint must come from a resident of the village, which we didn't understand that limitation, and so that was removed. And I believe you would take a complaint from anybody that brought it forward.
Okay, yeah. If that's what the intention was there. Because I think there's a lot of things also in this code that I'd love to revisit on the commission at some point soon, because it does feel as if sometimes the commissioners aren't always involved in some of the review of the of what we're doing when there might be a violation with a license or not. So I just want to make sure that that's not what that's trying to do.
No, it is not trying to take away power. It's trying to actually broaden power and seem to be a more logical choice.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just clarify that, or so if we, and this is purely hypothetical, but we could have an employee of an institution file a complaint with this current language, correct?
Well, under the current code, it says to receive complaints from any resident of the village.
Okay,
And
so you're
it's
expanding
more
it.
limiting. It's more limited.
Right.
And so the question comes up is what is the authority if the complaint comes from an employee of a business?
Right.
It comes from a business owner, but the person happens to live a town over and so forth. So this it was very limiting language we think was put in there at a time.
Okay.
You know, I don't even know if that was the true intent, but it was not meant to limit, and in fact, it expands.
Okay, thank you.
Any other trustee comments? Thank you again, everybody, for providing your input on that. I want to thank Village Attorney Ben Schuster for efforts in putting this together. This is number 4 of 7, so we are over the hump day onto Thursday and Friday. The weekend's right around the corner type of thing. More than halfway done, so that's great. It's a significant effort. We're grateful for the continued progress in this important initiative. Village Clerk Saladino, I'd request that you read the items on the consent agenda followed by those under current business.
Matters on the consent agenda will be considered by a single motion and vote because they've already been considered fully by the board at a previous meeting or have been determined to be of a routine nature. Any member of the Board of Trustees may request that an item be moved from the consent agenda to current business for separate consideration. Item A, a resolution approving a transferee assumption agreement with GW LaGrange LLC and 14 South LaGrange LLC. Item B, minutes of the Village of LaGrange Board of Trustees meeting Monday, August 26, 2024. And item C, September 9th, 2024 consolidated voucher. And currently nothing under the current business.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask if there's anybody in the public that has any comments on matters on tonight's agenda. This is for matters on tonight's agenda. If it's not on, you got to, well, why don't you, because you got your hands filled, come on up. Normally we'd have you speak after this, but you got your hands full.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for being accommodating. I have with me Benjamin Comstock, my son.
He was here.
So, behave yourself. With that said, I spoke here at the last meeting. I do appreciate you all listening to me, but I do have more information to inform you all. There's an actual law that is in violation in different places in LaGrange, including this building right now, the Public Restrooms Act, Bill number 3711, which was pushed by Delilah Ramirez. This is the Equitable Restrooms Act for baby changing tables. I'm here to protect who's most vulnerable, those who cannot speak for themselves, so I'm speaking for them. I feel a little bit like the Lorax. This was pushed into law, and on August 9th, 2019, effective date January 1st, 2020. It does require for a baby changing table in any public buildings that are accessible to children to have a baby changing table for men and for women. This law also does mandate that there is signage posted as well. The synopsis, as introduced, amends the Equitable Restrooms Act provides that all restrooms that are open and accessible to the public in public buildings shall be equipped with baby changing table facilities that are physically safe, sanitary, and usable for that purpose. Provides that the requirements is in addition to any accommodations that may be made for individuals in accordance with any local, state, or federal laws regarding health and safety codes on standards, defines public building. makes a conforming change. There is no grandfather clause stated there, so this building is not grandfathered in. Neither are the public restrooms at Gordon Park, which I spoke about before. This is not the only city that is in violation of the law. As I said, I've spoken at Hinsdale Town Hall meetings as well. I am actually going to be meeting later on this week with a company that actually does have their own baby changing tables that does have UV light. However you fall on certain things that have happened recently, I think it is safe to say that being clean is not a bad thing. So paying a little more money and having a UV light that will sanitize the baby changing tables in under 60 seconds sounds like a good idea to me. I will leave you with those statements for now. I can always come back and give you more information if needed. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for coming back. We'll make sure, if the building isn't in compliance with the law, that it gets there as soon as possible. Thank you. Moving back, any comments on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion on the consent agenda.
I move for a vote on the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Trustees, any discussion on the consent agenda?
Yeah, just looking at my other notes. I do have something to say. As previously stated, I recuse myself from voting on any agenda items related to the village prosecutor.
Thank you. Trustee Oxley. Seeing no other comments, I would ask for a roll call vote on the consent agenda.
Trustee Augustine.
Aye.
Trustee Thompson.
Aye.
Trustee Peterson.
Aye.
Trustee Gale.
Aye.
Trustee McGee and O'Brien absent.
And that passes unanimously. There is no items under tonight's current business, so I would ask, is there any comments on matters not on tonight's agenda? Come on up to the microphone.
All right, we're on. All right, thank you for letting me speak. I'm from Helping Hand. My name is Jim Tabor. I'm the Director of Employment Services. And I just want to come talk to you guys for a minute or two about our employment services. But just to let you know before I do that, I'm not sure if you guys are all aware of what Helping Hand does. We're right in Countryside in Hodgkins, and we have residential homes for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We have an outpatient clinic that we serve people that need assistance with physical therapy, speech therapy, feeding therapy, group therapy. We also serve the parents and siblings of those individuals as well with therapy. We have a therapeutic school, and then we also have a day program that we have adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities attend as well to give them a meaningful day. However, I think I have the best job at Helping Hand because I get to help people get jobs in the community. And our mission is to transform lives. And part of our vision is to see everybody in our community equally valued. I was telling Clerk Salandino a little bit about this right before the meeting, that we have people in all kinds of different roles. Of course, we have the traditional, you'll see people at Jewel that are bagging or getting cards, but we also have people at the library that work. We have people at the theater over here that work. We have a gentleman who works over at Brookfield Zoo. He has a master's degree in veterinary science. And so he's currently working in security there, but he's working to work more towards his major. But I wanted to let you guys know that we are always looking for employers to work with. Talking to the public here, but also to the officials as well. We have people that have all kinds of different talents. And as Clerk Salandino was saying to me, you just never know. So if you guys are interested, I'll stick around for a while after the meeting. I have some flyers specifically about our services. I also have cards as well. I'd be more than happy to speak to anybody that's interested in speaking to me. I can also come do a presentation at your place of business. So if you own a business or if you have a business owner you know of that might be interested in partnering with us, I'd love to speak with them. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for coming out tonight, and thank you for everything that Helping Hands does for our community and the community surrounding us.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Randy Valenta, 19 South LaGrange Road. After the terrific celebration we all had here yesterday with the community diversity group and celebrating our diversity and unity, and speaking of great art that's coming to LaGrange, I've got something you all want to hear about. Emmanuel Episcopal Church, 203 South Kensington, is going to be hosting a special traveling art exhibit. It's called Diversity and Inclusion in Art. Now, this is an exhibit that's curated by a group in Sarasota called Embracing Our Differences. They have commissioned and gathered works from around the world from students and professionals alike that illustrate in their minds how we celebrate our differences, how we live together better, and you know what there is to do left in achieving diversity and unity in our lives. Now, this exhibit's going to be here for 1 week only, September 22nd, that's a Sunday, through the following Sunday, the 29th. It will be at the church right there in the sanctuary from, let's see, the hours are 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So, you know, if you find it pleasurable to walk around the village during lunch there, you can bring your lunch into the sanctuary and enjoy some of the great art there. But for those people that can't enjoy our village during the day, we also have special evening hours on the Tuesday and Thursday of that week, 5 to 8 p.m. So we hope that anybody that hears this message can come out and extend the warmth of diversity and unity in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy, for coming out and letting us know. And maybe Becky, I see her in the back. Maybe she can put out a news blast to her diversity group, because I'm sure all the different groups would want to hear about it. So that's fantastic.
And there's a couple flyers on the table.
Great, thank you.
So Becky Lorenzen from LaGrange. I just wanted to give my really appreciative thanks to the board and to all the service that you do, the police and the fire, and we had such a wonderful unity rally, and it was so nice to see the diversity of people and the engagement of officials from the village, from the library, from many different organizations. And we had heard about the art fair at Emmanuel Episcopal, and we're waiting for a flyer that we can get electronically to send out. And it's so warms my heart to see so many people are working for diversity to make our community better for everybody. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight. And again, thank you for all yours and the community diversity group's efforts to put on such a wonderful event, not only yesterday, but the whole weekend. Seeing no other community members, I would ask if any trustees have any comments. Trustee Peterson.
Yes, so I just wanted to mention that 700 Block of Wayola had a block party on Saturday. And the big hit of the day is the big red truck that shows up about 3:30. So always a big hit, always a big hit. And we are very blessed on our neighborhood. We have a lot of new families, a lot of little children. And I just wanted to say I was so impressed by the two firefighters who were there. So professional, so gentle, lifting the tutus up into the driver's seat. You know, that took a little trick. And showing everybody all the equipment, answering all the questions. We had a few grandparents there, so they were wonderful. So I just wanted to say thank you for your leadership, and please pass on my thanks to the firefighters who were there. Lots of fun. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Trustee Peterson. Trustee Augustine.
Thank you, President Kukler. This is probably for Jack. If you happen to know when the next Lyons Township Quarry Commission meeting is, could you let us know? And could you bring back the numbers that they offer during those meetings about how many people have called in about blasts and any kind of complaints? I would love to be able to give that information to the public, because I'm not sure it matches with the group on Facebook that claims to have called in, and we were just kind of like a way to have some insight in that, or ask them if they'd invite any members, any residents to come into those meetings in the future. It's just a request.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is it soon? Because I know they were going to start in the beginning of the year.
Receive notice that it'll be tomorrow.
Okay, that'll be the first one for the year.
1:30 perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I remember receiving an email, I think, earlier today. I don't know if I still have it.
And what date did you say? I'm sorry that it was.
Tomorrow is
Tomorrow the 10th.
Okay.
1 o'clock.
Any other trustee comments? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 And the meeting's adjourned at 8:30. Thank you, everybody.